Okay, let's dive right into this explainer with the survival guide for your mind, Mamardashvili's Living Thought. We are going to unpack the incredibly fascinating, genuinely life-changing lectures of the philosopher Merab Mamardashvili. Now, his work on human consciousness is notoriously dense, but we've completely synthesized his key concepts on what he calls thought into this clear guide. We're going to explore what it actually means to have a living thought in a world that, quite frankly, constantly pushes us to be totally fake.
So let me ask you something. Do you ever find yourself in a really high-pressure situation? Maybe you're sitting in a university seminar, a corporate meeting, or even just chatting at a networking party, and it suddenly hits you that you're just performing someone else's script. You know the feeling, right? You're nodding, you're smiling, you're dropping all the right buzzwords, but deep down, you aren't really there. You're just simulating. Well, Mamardashvili identified this as one of the absolute greatest modern tragedies of the human mind. We think we're thinking, but a lot of the time, we're really just running a pre-installed program.
All right, that perfectly sets up section 1, the trap of automated thought. Let's look at how our minds are constantly at risk of being hijacked by societal expectations in these automated reflexes.
Mamardashvili had this amazing, kind of terrifying word for this trap, the simulacrum. It's essentially an automatic, performative fake response that literally takes your seat before you even sit down. Imagine you have a genuine, raw feeling about something, but before you can even begin to process it, boom, your brain throws up a prepackaged, socially acceptable reaction. That is the simulacrum. It's like having a mental double, a phantom that acts for you, and it completely prevents you from experiencing your own actual life.
He uses this incredibly vivid medical metaphor to describe how suffocating this is. He calls it St. Vitus's dance, which is a neurological disorder that causes involuntary twitching movements. He says society forces us into a social version of this St. Vitus's dance. We just stumble through these absurd, forced, completely mechanical motions of daily life, saying exactly what we're supposed to say, doing exactly what we're supposed to do. And the whole time, our actual living human soul is trapped inside the mechanism, literally screaming to be let out.
So how on earth do we break out of that robotic dance? How do we find pure, honest existence? Well, that brings us right to section 2, defining the living thought.
We really need to contrast the performative nature of those simulacra with the striking, raw vulnerability of a true living thought. Listen, a living thought is not about being the smartest person in the room. Not at all. It's about being absolutely honest and naked for reality. It completely strips away all the mimicry in the performance. When you experience a true living thought, it is fundamentally, unequivocally yours. It hasn't been borrowed from a textbook, and you definitely didn't steal it from a trending social media feed.
Mamardashvili says this authentic realization hits you literally like a spark. He calls it a state of piercing nostalgic clarity. Now, when a living thought strikes, it might actually hurt. You might suddenly see a terrible, undeniable truth about a relationship you're in, or maybe even your own toxic behavior. But paradoxically, and this is the beautiful part, because it is true, it ultimately fills you with this profound, almost sweet joy. The joy doesn't mean the situation is good. It comes from the immense relief of finally seeing reality exactly as it is, totally free of those fake filters.
Let's take this concept into the real world with section 3, insight versus performative intellect, especially when we're trying a little too hard to impress people. Just think about the difference between truly existing in the truth and simply showing off. Mamardashvili pointed out something brilliant. A fool can ask a million clever questions just for show. We've all seen this, right? You're in a classroom or a boardroom and someone is performing intellectualism. They're just manipulating big words to sound brilliant. But guess what? That's just another simulacrum. A true thinker seeks the naked truth, and reaching that naked truth requires a genuine deep transformation of the soul, not just stringing together some clever vocabulary words.
Now, to prove this isn't just some modern anxiety caused by corporate culture or the internet, let's look at section 4, the Plato and Dante test. These historical heavyweights face the exact same struggle.
Check out Plato's critique of the tyrant Dionysius in his 7th letter. It's absolutely perfect. Plato realized that Dionysius was using philosophy strictly for vanity, not for any kind of inner truth. He was basically wearing the costume of a philosopher just to get famous. Plato saw right through the guy. He realized true philosophy isn't about memorizing concepts you can impress people at dinner parties. It's an active, inward remembering of truth that fundamentally shifts who you are. If you're doing it just to show off, you are engaging in a dead thought, absolutely not a living one.
And we see this completely mirrored in classic figures like Petrarch and Dante. They aggressively prioritize the intense, sometimes agonizing reality of their inner states over easy, performative words. They knew firsthand that engaging with the naked truth requires a massive amount of internal heavy lifting. I mean, it is so much easier to just grab a comforting cliché right off the shelf. But these thinkers demanded the grueling work of authentic existence from themselves, no matter how hard it was.
So, the big question: how do we actually apply this dense philosophy to our own daily lives? If you're a student or young adult just trying to survive in our hyper-competitive, image-obsessed world, you are going to love Section 5, Your Daily Mind Honesty Guide.
Let's walk through Mamardashvili's introspective method as a super practical, step-by-step daily exercise. Step 1 is simple self-observation. You literally just need to start catching your mind when it's operating on autopilot. Just notice it. Step 2, spot the simulacra. When you feel an emotional reaction or an opinion bubbling up, hit pause and ask yourself, wait, is this actually my thought, or is this just the socially expected reaction? And finally, step 3, find the naked truth. Strip away the vanity, strip away the desperate urge to look smart or be right, and bravely embrace whatever raw, uncomfortable truth is actually sitting there.
All right, let's arm ourselves for battle. Section 6, High-Pressure Social Truth Strategies. These are tactics for those incredibly stressful situations we face every single day.
Your very first strategy is simply recognizing when words are going to fail the truth. If you're at a networking event, sometimes trying to force an authentic feeling into conversation just immediately turns it into a cheap cliché. Strategy 2 is to embrace the spark of clarity, even if it really hurts to admit you've been living a fake script. And strategy 3, and honestly this is a huge game-changing victory for anyone today, simply refuse to engage in the fake social script. Just opt out.
Which actually brings us to what I think is the most powerful strategy of all, the silent truth. Mamardashvili explicitly points out that sometimes, when you finally experience a profound, living thought, opening your mouth will instantly ruin the whole thing. The words we have available in our culture are already so tainted by societal baggage. So, you know what? Sometimes the absolute most authentic, rebellious thing you can do in a performative world is just stand there and observe the truth in complete silence. Keeping your lips sealed literally protects the integrity of your inner life from being contaminated by all those simulacra.
And that leads us to this final provocative thought. As you step away from this explainer and dive back into the chaos of your daily routine, I want you to ask yourself this. When you sit down in the chair of your own life today, will you actually be the one sitting there? Are you going to do the hard, grueling work of existing in your own pure, sometimes painful truth? Or are you just going to let an automated robotic double perform the dance for you? The choice to reclaim your own mind is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I will catch you in the next explainer.